Good afternoon, St. Lucia. My name is Laurent Pierre. We are here at the base of our World Heritage Site, Gros Piton, at a place called Anse L'Ivrogne, one of the most scenic and beautiful spaces on our island. We have come to visit our beach and to enjoy our country, and we have a roadblock by the persons who are developing, or so-called development, but enveloping, really, what truly belongs to us, our heritage, our patrimony. And here is what they blocked us out, literally cordoned us out.
With a 2.5 foot path.
With only a 2.5 foot path. This is ridiculous in the 21st century. We have lost Cap Estate now, that is Casaba. We have lost Binfield, $1 for 99 years. We have lost Casaba, as I have said, Shock. We have to go on like a Marous under the so-called causeway or whatever they call it. And here again, all our beaches and our scenic sites are taken away. What is going on?
And with limited access.
With limited access to us. This is sacrilege. And somebody, Mr. Prime Minister, the Labour Party, the opposition, concerned citizens, you need to come and rescue St. Lucia from the hands of those land grabbers. So we need to do something here and now, immediately. I'm calling on the Prime Minister and the Minister of the Environment to take action. That cannot continue. You're looking for a war in this country when the people are losing their patrimony. So I call upon the powers that be, the DCA, and who's the National Trust, the Archaeological and Historical Society, to take a stand to prevent the envelopment of our patrimony by outsiders, and we can't enjoy it in the way we should. Thank you very much. I look forward to action. Enough talk.
We're going to continue the talk for just a bit. The video has now gone viral, and joining me now on this edition of Beyond the Headlines, brought to you with the kind compliments of Flo, environmental activist, Mr. Laurent Pierre. Mr. Pierre is a certified ethnobotanist who holds a first degree as an anthropologist. He worked with the St. Lucia National Trust as the very first curator of the National Herbarium in the 1980s, a past board member of the National Trust and current board member of the National Archives and Archaeological and Historical Society, a farmer and a lover of plants. He has a distinction of a rare plant which he discovered at the summit of Petit Piton, named after him, the Bernardia laurentini. Has been bestowed the Meritorious Award of the Le Piton Medal Gold for his work in anthropology and ethnobotany, has researched and delivered papers on every continent except the Arctic and Antarctica. He describes himself as a Christofari, was one of those victims of the famous police Mount Jimmy raid on the 7th of September 1977. We recall the popular song Police Mute Mount Jimmy. At that time, he was arrested and imprisoned and remanded for 4 months. A long-standing executive member of the Archaeological and Historical Society, a dedicated lobbyist and activist on environmental matters, a true St. Lucian patriot. Mr. Laurent Pierre, good morning to you, sir. Thanks for waking up and thanks for joining us.
Greetings and salutations, my brother, and to the listening and viewing world.
Right. I want to ask you, firstly, the situation at Anse L'Ivrogne. The video has gone viral. What's the update there? Has anything changed?
Well, not that I know of. I haven't been for a few weeks now due to transportation difficulties or constraints. But I am staying vigilant, and I will be doing my usual checkups around the island, and one is due very soon, so I will be able to give a a new report on what's going on down there, for sure. But I have not been for a while, and I do not like secondhand information. That's why I'm not going to repeat what I have been hearing, but I'm going to go in person so that I could be an eyewitness.
We as well, we don't like secondhand information, so we've come to the source, and we've come to you this morning, Jomo, to engage us on this platform. What is your assessment of the current state of the environment here in St. Lucia?
Well, it's what I put: small steps, one step forward and two steps backwards, kind of thing. You know, a lot of rhetoric, a lot of talk, but in the, this, what was it, John Bunyan, who said the soul of every religion is in the praxis, is what you do, not just what you articulate, but what you do. And so that's where it matters for me, not just the rhetoric about we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We want to see it happen. And the state of the environment, or probably the state of the union by extension, it's slippery. It is slippery. Economically and environmentally, we're in a slippery slope. A lot of factors are the cause for that. We had COVID, we had wars, and so forth. But more importantly, I think it's the will and the gonads and the courage. In the Greeks said the highest virtue is courage to do what is right, not for us, but for the future generation. That's what we're looking for: men and women of courage that would take the bull by the horn and drive this country in the right direction to rescue our future, to rescue the future of this country. 500 years of European model colonization and model, it's not working for the world. It has reached its zenith, never worked. It was a pillage, and it continues to pillage these countries. It has not worked, and it's time to change course. Our models are not working for the environment. It's a war against the environment, destroying our livelihoods, destroying our own that civilization that we are in, and possibly humanity itself.
Your assessment is that the state of our environment is at a slippery slope. I want to ask you, slippery slope, are we almost at the edge of the cliff, in as far as if we don't address the environmental concerns, we may as well find ourselves as a failed state in the not too distant future?
Absolutely. That's where we are heading until we stop where that change course, so to speak. For example, water is life. Without water, we are in trouble. We have Wasco is I cannot even find a word to describe Wasco, where Wasco is. I would not like to be the manager of Wasco right now, even if it pays well, because without plants, without the rivers, we don't have any water. That's our source of water. We do not harvest water as we ought to during the rainy season. Cap Estate and the north is bursting at its seams. If with households, every day you look, there's another household coming up. Ad hoc planning. We have no limits on the way we do things. It's not controlled. And you need to feed all of these households with water. What if we had planned properly? They would have had a dump in Monnier, a water catchment in Monnier to feed the north, and the one in Millet would feed the rest of the part of the north. But the far north, like Cap Estate and Gozile and the environment. But what we have in now is ad hoc development, so-called development. In fact, it is not development; it is envelopment. Because development is supposed to breed life, but the course we're not growing, we're dying, and that's the danger. You know, when you're dying slowly and you don't know, but you're dying anyway, that is where we are now in our civilization as a planet, as St. Lucia, and by extension a planet. I may sound like a calamity howler, but it is real. If we go through a severe dry season here, we are in trouble, my brother. The world, we are in trouble. If we go through a serious drought here and our rivers begin to dry, in fact, they're already drying up. The bassins we used to bathe in when we were young, Tumase, when Coco Charles, the late Coco Charles, the godfather of the environment, said that Tumase, if we don't change our habits of cutting the trees, what will happen? We would lose water, and Tumase would become a trickle. People say it's a calamity howler, and he is just negative. Prophecy fulfilled. Look at Tumase today. And that's just the beginning of things. Let's look around us and see what's happening. Put our critical mind and thinking on what's going on around us in terms of the environment. Be observant. Be observant. We don't have cathedrals. What we have is palm cathedrals, our coconut trees, and our trees. This is what it's about. And if I have to segue into land, we could talk about that a little later.
Yes,
the state of land sale in this country, how we're just losing ground literally as a people, and that's the most important asset, is the land. There was an old lady, Sepulo, who's dead and gone now, to meet her maker. She taught me as a boy to buy precaution. Be careful how we deal with the land. The land is sacred. It's in trust for us as a people. I tout où ça ça dit moi créole, tout est bon Dieu te qu'a fait, il a fini fait, il pas qu'a fait encore. That's profound wisdom from a woman who didn't have a primary school education. She observed the importance of land.
Yeah.
Say that again?
No. I was saying that you're absolutely spot on, and you live through the era of fearless icons. The now deceased name of Robert DeVoe comes to mind. Gabriel Coco Charles comes to mind. These men were dedicated, and they had that resolve. They were not academics, but practitioners armed with machetes, rubber boots, and the binoculars. At that time, we agonized over many challenges, but years now has gone. Who are our new environmental stalwarts? Who are our environmental soldiers, Mr. Jean-Pierre?
The stalwarts today, well, you have people around. It's not very visible, but there are people working like George Odlam would say, like Poulbois. Undercover is there, but the champions that go ready to put that have the courage. Again, I go back to courage to stand up and say it as it is and say we are heading in the wrong direction. There are few and in between. It's a very difficult thing. Before we had champions, we had Robert DeVoe, we had of course, to me, the greatest St. Lucian in my era that have walked St. Lucia, the land that gave us birth. Listen to our anthem, you know. The land that gave us birth, the land, the people, the light, our coat of arms, you know, our motto, you know, and even Dominica put it a little better. Après bon Dieu c'est la terre. After God is the land. The Europeans, my friends and listeners, created civilization and took wealth and built wealth on our backs as African slaves and on the land. And today we have a little bit of that land. We're giving it back to them. We're not even selling it, you know. We're giving it back to them. We're giving them money to buy it. Osimo economics. You know the phenomenon of Osimo? Osimo would light $100 bill as Alfred Lewis to look for a cent. Ça c'est couillon, hein? C'est ça nous qu'a fait un gouvernement. C'est juste ça qu'a vendu propriété nous. Selling out our land, the most important resource. Après bon Dieu, c'est la terre. After God is the land. That's where we have to live and leave it for our future generation so that they could live on it. We need to bring more land into our land banks. all the estate around the island that they follow, and they are for sale on the international market. Good governance would find money to buy these properties or get lobby for reparation money if needs be from the powers who enslaved us, so that we could take this land, buy these lands, and put it in a land bank in perpetuity. All the estates like Grand Anse for sale, Esperance in the north, and some others all over the island. These things should be bought and put in a land bank and put young people to work to feed ourselves. Food security, food sovereignty,
Absolutely.
food safety, crucial issues of the 21st century.
Jomo, have we gotten to a time in our development where we need to start to look on the policy level at restricting the sale of certain category of land? Example, beachfront, forest reserve, even areas in and around the Piton management area in Soufrière, for example, and protect it, restrict the sale of those lands to expats?
Absolutely, brother. We need to draw the line. There comes a time when a nation maturing, growing into maturity. When you're a child, you think as a child. But when you becoming of age, you need to change your thinking and think for future generation, think for your future of your family, think for the future of the state, because our politicians and our governing or representatives, they should be thinking about the future of this country, and the only way to secure the future is to get as much land as we can in our land bank and manage it properly, demarcate specific areas for specific activities. You cannot do a bon development. That's development. That's envelopment. Development's supposed to grow. Is supposed to multiply. But what we're doing, we are declining. Our best beaches, our best spaces, our recreational spaces is shrinking, and quickly at that. You know, the childhood that we have, drinking our guavas and enjoying our rivers. The children of today cannot enjoy our rivers as we did. See, bassin sec. The pools of water that was blue and green and deep, they all dried up today, my brothers, and they are not just dried up. There's plastic, and it's polluted. This, and I may sound like an alarmist, but that's the facts on the ground.
That's the current day reality. Absolutely.
That is the bottom line. And somebody, the powers that be, need to stand up. Food security is another serious problem. Panisik, panisa, no tembe. We are stray. We don't know what to do. We should be producing our food here sufficient. All them young fellas that's killing one another. Give these fellas land to work on appropriate technology, soft loans. Get young people back in agriculture to feed the nation. Calypsonians getting women, they getting money, they getting fame. We're going to meet them at the airport. We're going to Trinidad when they performing. We're doing the same things for sports people. What about the people that feed us, the most important people, the farmers and fisher folks? You know? We need to guard our land like a bulldog in this dispensation more than ever, and be careful, how we divide, how we sell, how we give. This is, we're not even selling, we're giving people money to buy it. This is insanity at the highest, my brother. We need to stop and think, put a think tank together, and let us think of how the DCA, everybody has to come on board and look at how the way forward, because we are in trouble. Yep. It may not seem so, but we are. I may sound again as an alarmist, but that's the reality. Our land is shrinking, and we have a whole lot of St. Lucians. Look at the price of land today.
And it's shrinking fast, It's shrinking fast. If the contents of the discussion piques your interest, you want to give us a call and share a question, comment, suggestion, the number is 4500777, 4500777. Again, if the contents of this segment piques your interest and you want to connect with us, 4500777. Jomo, without being overly brutal in your critique and bearing in mind your role as a former board member of the St. Lucia National Trust, what is your assessment of the current day National Trust?
Well, I think they're treading cautiously and they're watchful, but I still feel there's some issues that the National Trust must not lose its cutting edge, and sometimes you have to bite the hands that feed you. And I think in this dispensation, they've gone quiet. And I'm very disappointed about that. The National Trust should remain cutting edge and be vigilant. Not because you got back your subvention, you should just pick your blanket and wrap yourself up and go to sleep. You must. The aim is vigilant ever. Vigilant ever. Protect this thing like a lion protects its cubs. We have to, because if you don't do that, because for example, I heard our Prime Minister, and I hope our Prime Minister succeeds. This administration really turned the corner in the way we are heading. I am hoping, I am praying that this regime, this Prime Minister succeed, because if this regime fails, bal fini velon asa, we'll go deeper in the doo-doo, you know? So, for example, if we do not protect our trees, our water source will diminish considerably, continue to diminish. So we need to do that. But the politicians and the National Trust and the DCA and all those that are in charge of our patrimony should really stop and think which way we're doing. You cannot there are some things that you cannot compromise. For example, my father always used to say, même sous ou faim ou pas à manger poison, même sous ou soif ou pas à boire poison. Even if you are hungry and thirsty, you cannot drink the Kool-Aid. You must stick to principle, as a needle is to the pole, in the words of Ellen G. White. You have to have principle, and we need principle government, principle National Trust that will call a disaster or an environmental problem by its name. No compromise. But I am watching, I am vigilant, I am watching the National Trust. I do not want to unleash yet the ANH, of whom I'm a member of the board and a past member of the National Trust board. I am more dangerous when I'm not on these boards, to tell you the truth, because I could speak more firmly. And even when I'm within the bosom of the institution, I take stands that are firm, because you got to stand by a purpose firm. And what's important is not about us, it's about the future of St. Lucia, the children, our grandchildren. What kind of St. Lucia are we living for them to enjoy the patrimony? That's my vision. That's the vision, supposed to be the vision of the National Trust, the vision of ANH, the guardians and the watchdogs of our patrimony, both natural and cultural. And also our government must not sway. And I understand it's a difficult task in this dispensation with wars and COVID and money is tight and so forth and so forth. I understand the tension. It's not an easy time to govern. And I understand that. But there's some things you cannot sell out. You cannot drink poison because you're hungry or thirsty, because you will die anyway. So better you take it hard and try and survive. You know, survival, Derek Walcott says, the triumph of stubbornness. The triumph of stubbornness. C'est pour entêter, pour vivre. You think a cancer is entêté, it will kill its host just to stay alive, not knowing that it itself is dying in the process. So I'm drawing out of these figurative examples to tell us that the world, the St. Lucia is fragile. It's a small 248 square mile. That's all we have. That's all. And we need to guard it. We need to protect it. We need to do everything proper. We need to stop and think, not a two-month society. And by the way, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. They come with all their gifts and they sweet talk. Don't let them sweet talk us. We cannot be so desperate that we're drinking poison. I want to... Yeah, go ahead.
How do we strike that balance now with all what's happening economically, not just in St. Lucia, across the world? How do we strike a balance, ensuring that we can continue to create opportunities for our citizens while managing the resource to ensure its availability for future generations, sustainability? How do you strike that balance?
Well, we need to stop that grandiosity thing and the conspicuous consumerism. Like Dwight Venner used to say, we have bare money, but we want to drink champagne. That's part of the problem. And it's several layers of complexity. Nonetheless, that's where we need to stop and think and put our heads together and see how best we can do what we have to do to develop this country with minimum destruction of the goose that laid the golden egg. You cannot, because things are hard, to destroy the goose. You cannot destroy it or squander it. You need to tread carefully, tread softly. But one of the solutions, I believe, is to begin feeding ourselves. That I think we should focus on, because when you have the basic necessities of life, food, water, clothing, shelter, that's what a good governance should work on. Providing these things. Use your imagination and your creativity and your ingenuity to use the resources that you have. What we have is human resources.
Let's hold that point, Joe. There's somebody on the line who wants to engage with you. Good morning and welcome to the program. We seem to have lost that caller. 8 minutes now before 9 o'clock. Jomo, you can continue. And technicians, we just engage with the callers before putting them on the air. Moving forward. All right. My apologies.
Yes, so I was saying we need to be frugal. We cannot be wasteful in this dispensation. We need to be careful how we spend the people's money, on what, for what, with who. You know, guard our boundaries, guard our finances. We need to get frugal, you know, and we need to fuck this highfalutin thing. We want to be like Dubai, we want to be islands in the sea. That's pie in the sky thing, man. Believe the basics, man. According to Francis of Assisi, I think it was, he says, live simple that others may simply live. Simplicity, go back to simplicity, the basics. And when I say not basics, but we need to fulfill the basics first. Food, water, clothing, shelter for our people. These are the basics, and then the rest will come with time. Food security, food sovereignty. The food bills are too high, the imports. That's killing us, bro. And then we have to tax them. And I know it's not easy. But that's the task before us as a civilization, as a people, a young civilization, a young country. That's the task before us. How are we going to manage our meager resources and manage it well so that the future generation will lift their hats to us? You know, that's the task. We cannot get what we can it, and sit on it, and everybody in a rush to just grab by any means necessary. That is danger for our society. And I'd be sounding like a moralist, but we need to get serious about the corruption, the bubble, the pillage of our resources. People have to go to jail, brother, when you do them things. You have to account.
We hear you loud and clear.
Kind of in trouble. Yeah, go ahead.
We hear you loud and clear, Jomo. Do you think the citizenry is energized enough? Do you think we are concerned enough, appreciative enough to turn that corner and really put these issues on the front burner?
Well, we're walking around as though we have been piffed. And I don't know if you know the phenomena of being piffed. When you take off the nerve cells behind a frog, in biology, you could operate on it and it's there. and nothing, it doesn't feel it. You could do what you want. And that's how we're walking around now. But if you put a frog in warm water and you put the burner under it, it would die in the burner, not knowing that it's been warmed to death, cooked to death. But if you throw it in the hot water, it would jump out immediately. I think we are too laissez-faire. We're not vigilant enough because we just sleepwalking. We need to begin to think, I don't like the word outside the box, but we need to think of what's truly happening to us as a people. Our society is in decline. We can see it, and not just us. The whole world needs to stop and think which way we are going. Remember that song? Heaven knows where we are going. We need to stop and think. We must do it, or we are heading to this. We have no choice, my brother, anymore, but to stop and think, because it will collapse. This civilization as we know it will collapse if we do not stop and think to change course. If your house is burning and you just stop and looking at it, it will go burn. Mm-hmm. You have to think of what can I do to rescue our future, rescue the house. Absolutely. Bottom line. Absolutely. And unless we reach that place in our thinking, instead of just grabbing and bubbling each other and dealing all kinds of things, we need to solve the urgent issues and challenges of this period. And it's a mammoth task. It's not easy, but we must do it for us to survive. We have no choice, or we will end up in a mess, and it continues to decline more and more. Even people we looked at, civilizations we looked up to, they are in decline. It's a worldwide thing. America, Haiti, France, two par two. We look at Russia and what's going on. Let us stop and think, pause for a while and say, wait, that mad rush to prosperity by any means necessary, it ain't working. People will rebel. Criminals will. The other thing is the young people in the ghettos, so to speak, know the bubble and the corruption at the top. So they say, to hell with it. We're going for it in our own way. Unless they see examples at the top, people of integrity, people who are able to stand up for truth, though the heavens fall, that will inspire them. But who are inspiring our youth today? When they know these fellas are smarter than us, those in the ghetto, they know all the corruption. Sometimes the people that are feeding them to do the corrupt things, they know them well, and they're in jacket and tie, in high places. So they said, well, if them fellas could do that, and them fellas feeding us at the bottom, for example, we saw a big container of what's happened to that? And the money for spliff, you want to throw him in jail. I'm not saying you shouldn't. People should obey the law, or we should come to an understanding how much you could carry 40 ounces. Very good, progressive. Yeah. That's progressive. Yep. But I'm saying we need to sit down and look at our challenges as a civilization, as the human species, the Homo sapiens, the people that know that they know, and try to figure it out collectively. Nobody has all the answers. In everything, some people have the answers, but no one has all the answers.
Absolutely
like
not.
Cohen says, in everything there is a crack, but it is through quit your perfect sacrifice and your perfect offerings, but it is through the crack that the light gets in. And that's profound. There's a crack in every government, in every institution, but we need to re-examine ourselves and allow the light to flow in and help us. We are, after all, the Homo sapiens.
Yep.
We should be able to solve our problems, or attempt to solve our problems, rather than just putting it under the bushel and going in the same direction without stopping and thinking which way are we heading. We need to stop.
A broad and lengthy discussion that needs to be have not just on this platform but at the national level. But we have quickly run out of time. I want to remind you though of one more song before we let you go. In the year 2000, the Calypsonian Black Eye sang the song entitled "We Losing Ground." Is it correct to say that the commentary appears to be a scary reality now, even more so? And are we really losing ground here on St. Lucia?
Absolutely. This is still an ongoing battle. Our biggest battle is that nuka vantenu, nuka baitenu. We cannot afford to do that. Land is the most precious resort. Even the sea has land under it.
Yep.
So land, we have to guard the land with all our. We cannot just let for the last statement I heard our Prime Minister, he said to the fellas in Shabisha, that's all we want. Maybe he didn't speak properly, but he said that's all we want, good wages. No, we want more than just that.
We'll continue that discussion. Mr. Jean-Pierre, Laurent Jomo Jean-Pierre, in the coming days, I assure you, we will continue this discussion. Thank you always for your concern. Thank you for your passion, and thank you for your interest in protecting what is ours for current and future generations of St. Lucians. Thank you so much, Jomo, and enjoy the rest of the day.
You're most welcome. Let us La Lucha continua.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have on today's...
and leaders of St. Lucia and all the people of St. Lucia. I pray God's blessing upon them.
Blessings to you as well on this Thursday morning right here.